I've been doing this for like a year and a half. And I've noticed it's very difficult to create an audience, especially you don't do this, if you don't do this all the time. So it seems like it's a strange place, right? The world is as connected as it's ever been. You can have as big of a voice as you've ever wanted. There's more information than probably at any time in the entire history of humanity. And that's a weird one. That's a super weird one. Because, like, what is any of this? Like, my whole thing is I just want to, in a non religious way, in a non atheist way, in a non biased way, something snapped, something connected, something tripped, something triggered me about mm, 3.5, 4 years ago. And I just said, yeah, I think it was the COVID thing. And it was just like, there was just something. And I started reading the Bible. And and now, and then I just started thinking, what does this mean? So I started looking every place I could imagine. And then I've ended up in places I couldn't imagine. And the story is just wild. It just gets weirder and weirder, and I go farther and farther in. And I'm reaching a place now where I feel oh, like every time I think I get it, it's it's like, doop. Oh, I didn't know they had a basement to the basement to the basement. And then what's strange is like when you start, you go to experts, right? You go, who knows things. So that's a strange one, right? So in the case of the Bible, start asking yourself, who's an expert? And like you would imagine guys that talk about the Bible all day. So who are those people? Well, you've got preachers, and they'll talk about it this way. And then you'll have like professors, and they'll talk about it this way. And then you'll go find like esoteric mystery, and it'll talk about it this way. And so it's like I started looking, but I had to go in all these different ways. And sorry, preachers, like the first people you realize don't have the answers you're looking for are like mainstream standard preachers of the Bible. Pretty quickly, you go, oh, this is okay. They've been saying the same story since I was a kid. Nothing's, yeah, I mean, what they end up doing, and it is interesting because it does become useful, is they will, with that understanding, they're able to sort of like pile on pretty interesting, they'll notice things. So you can't ignore them, but if you're looking for like the underlying meaning, it's not there, but they do provide you with Like if you're able to how do I? So I've been able to take the meaning and use those meanings, and then you have to translate it, and that translations will give you like even deeper things. So you're like, oh, thank you. I don't buy that, but I do appreciate the help. But then you go to like professors, biblical studies, same thing, almost the exact same story. They they are so worried about being right, which is interesting, right? You would think, okay, well, these people want to be correct, but they've become so worried about their correctness that they're actually sort of in an equal prison on an opposite place. I'd say the prison for churches is like pseudo spirituality, but like the prison for professors is like Jewish history. And so they sort of have become so blinded by the need to make this that they sort of can't see the thing. Where over here, they're so wrapped up. Here, they're so worried about facts they can't see the story, and here they're so worried about the story that they can't see the facts. And then here in the esoteric world, I don't. It's it sounds. How do I put this? As an adult, you become an adult, right? And you get an adult job. And you go to adult meetings with other adults in your adult job. And then you get in like a little conversation, and it's just like everybody wants to out jargon out like oh, the phrasing and the wording. And so like every time I've ever entered like I call them like new worlds. Like if you go into one field of pick a field, and they'll have like an entire vocabulary and they'll just speak in their language. And then when an outsider comes in, the insiders all like chirp in their little verbiage, and it makes them sound really intelligent and really like we are experts. And you know we're experts because we're chirping with our language. And the outsiders go, ooh, impressive. And then they go back and they chirp in their language about what these people chirped in their language. And so what you just have is just a whole world of people chirping in their own little languages to all seem official. And it's like esoteric, all of it. Like church people do it, professors do it to the point where it makes me just like, oh my God. And then they sort of judge you because you said a word wrong. Or, well, you're not intelligent. You can. And they'll say words that, like, come on, nobody. So it's unapproachable. Everybody's unapproachable, and they all keep you in your place to keep out of their place. But really, everybody's a person. Everybody's a dumb person who just eats and poops and sleeps and dies. Like, we're all. So, esotericism is like so bad. And it's so ridiculous that it almost seems nonsensical. But it's like the emperor's new clothes. And you just sort of like you don't want to seem stupid, so you're like, oh, that's so deep and spiritual. It's like your friend that's into crystals. She or he, but she is and they get so like, yeah, they're positive. Like, oh yeah, no, I'm positive. They tell you how positive they are, and they like, oh no, that's negative, and we're positive, and they just become like unbearably unreal. Ooh, you just want to like say a negative comment, not because you're feeling negative, just because it'll make it at least seem real. It's kind of like so going into like the emerald tablets. Oh, ooh, oh, oh, great wisdom, great wisdom. It's not that great, but it's been helpful, right? So I've had to go into all these worlds, and I've been in lots of worlds in general. I've had a strange life, and I've going into new worlds is kind of what my life has been about. And but the thing you notice when you do that is like if you just take the first thing they say, you go, okay, I get that, and then you like hold on to that, and then you let them kind of go forward, and you're like, okay, that's the next thing. And you just like track them, like put little markers and kind of like follow their logic. Do, 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 do. Follow the story, follow their understanding, follow the logic, follow history, and pretty soon you're just like, you you guys let go of this and you guys let go of that, and I don't know what the fuck you're doing. And pretty soon you're like, who's in charge here? Because none of this actually makes any sense. And you're just sort of left going, what? What the hell? So then you just have to kind of go, I guess I'll start this from scratch. Okay, well, I've got all this stuff I've got accidentally by following these people. So let me just sort of lay this out. Let me just start writing this down and keeping track of this and just, and pretty soon you just start to notice things. You start to notice things and you start to put things together and you start to go, huh. The other thing that happens is when you, I don't know about you, I don't know who you are, but the world's a funny place. Like when I drive, I'm in no particular hurry. So I drive the speed limit. Sometimes I go a little faster, sometimes I go a little slower, but on average, that seems about right. And I'm just drive. People pass me, people get in front of me too. Like, but I've noticed there's an insane percentage of drivers that are just trying to win. And you're like, well, what the hell are you winning? You're just going to Walmart. Gonna be there. And if it's not, thank God. But people just like some people need to go fast. I don't think they know why they need to go fast. They just need to go fast. I noticed that when I read, I just need to go fast. I just needed to be done. Like sometimes when I start something, I just want to be finished. And the whole time I'm doing it, I'm thinking about not doing it. Or how quickly can it be undone? And I noticed that that was true when I was reading. I was like, I kind of would start reading and I sort of kind of knew what it was saying and I kind of saw the words and I kind of, and I had to go, hold on a second. Why do I do this? Why am I reading so poorly? So then I started like reading slow, but not slow on the purpose of slow. I read exactly how fast it takes me. So I'll read a phrase and then I'll stop and I'll go, huh. And then I'll reread the phrase and then I'll look think, huh. And so what's happened over the 3, 4 years I've been doing this is you start to realize, like, there's an awful lot of phrases that are just spread out. That's like number one. But then, like, you notice if you're a Christian, you're not really supposed to read the Bible. You're supposed to, like, have a Bible that you carry. You can quote the important verses. You want to be seen reading it. You want to be seen regurgitating the correct interpretations of it. But an awful lot of the time, if you're honest, you don't really know what it means. In fact, to know what it means, it's like not in the important part is that you give your heart to, like, the important part is these little tropes. So you maintain the trope. It's true in academia. Like, they will say the most ridiculous things about a verse. Like, I can read the verse and go, okay, that's interesting. That's a whole lot of weirdness. And then you hear their interpretation, and it's like they just ignore all of that, dismiss it, and then, like, give you a random semi-related historical fact, and you just sort of go, but did okay. So then you go looking for meanings of these words, and then it's just like, really? I gotta believe that nonsense, or that nonsense, or that nonsense. So there's lots of nonsense. So you just have to start creating sense. And so now I've reached a point where I'm really excited. Oh, this is way cooler than I ever thought. And I don't have to pretend or imagine, or I'm not having to give up one thing to get another. Like, I can keep all. It's kind of like when if you listen to physicists, which for whatever stupid reason I'll listen to these guys talk about theories of everything. So in order to create theory of everything, like, the problem is, like, you have the big stuff. You have, like, the, what do they call that? The Einsteinian stuff. And you have the quantum stuff, but they don't quite touch. And so they're trying to figure out how they can not have to give up too much in order to have them both become aligned. And so there's a whole, go look up Eric Weinstein, and there's like potentially a crisis in physics over the this, and then there's like infighting, and you have factions of string theorists and anti-string theorists, and it's just not my world, but it's interesting to go to a world. So it's kind of like that. I don't want to have to give up my quantum to get to my my relativity, right? I don't want to give up my things that make sense. Like, for all their faults, Christians done an amazing job of keeping the story, and they get all the important parts. So if you're gonna find a conclusion, it can't just say, like, and we worship Lucifer. Like, I think, and that's kind of the issue with a lot of these. Like, if you want to understand why people are always saying, like, the Freemasons run the world, they worship Lucifer. Well, it's kind of true. They just have, so you can't choose that, because if you're like at the end, but the devil's the good guy, like, then like all of Christianity in 2,000 years would be negated. So you can't like just invert everything and be like, I figured it out, which is kind of what esotericism is about. It's like there is like a weird inversion occurring. You're like, well, if you do that, then what's the fucking point of that? Why didn't you just do that from the beginning? Or so there's these little things that you have to sort of, and then like the academic world is like they just remove all of the morality and spirituality out of it and just go down this like bizarrest world. And you're like, isn't the whole point of a religion to tackle spiritual moral issues? So if you just delete that, like, and that's kind of like the world you live in, right? We've deleted morality and spirituality and we've replaced it with rationalism and scientism and materialism. And it's just like, well, yeah, I guess you can do it, but you don't get any of those things out of that. So your choices are like silly stories, Lucifer, none of the above. Again, so it's like to understand how what I'm trying because now I've reached a point where I'm like, oh, I have found it. Let me tell the whole world. People will clamor and line up for this great, amazing, eye-opening truth that literally will change their understanding of reality. And that's so not true. But then you go, okay, do I want to be viral? Do I want to be popular? And you like Google, I want to make a viral video. And then your stomach churns and you're like, oh, that's fucking disgusting. Like, it seems sort of gross and grotesque to try to be a rich person talking about morality, spirituality, and the deepest things of humanity, right? That seems like it should be free from the ickiness of money. And then you, especially if you understand what I'm going to try to tell you, because it's like when you see it, unfortunately, it'll ruin your entire life. Like you go to church and you're asked to accept Jesus in your heart and he will change your life. And you say the magic words and you get the magic insurance and then you're in the magic team and everything's safe. Like that's what Christianity has been like, or even Islam, right? It's a very interesting, profound teaching that has sort of just like, well, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew, I'm a Buddhists don't really do it because they don't really, they're sort of nihilist. But like Christianity's become like a creepy club that just sort of is devoid of substance. And the sad part is like because of academics, everything has slowly become devoid of substance. So now we live in a, I guess, yeah. So where I'm trying to go is like, I guess I want to compare, have an honest discussion about this world in the ancient world. Like humanity is interesting. So there's so many distractions that how often do you just stop and just think? Like let's say you take science literally, right? You believe what they say. Well, then the universe is 13.8 billion years old. And the earth is whatever, 4 billion years old. But it was a ball of magma, it was a ball of water, it was a ball of snow, it was a ball of this, it was Pangea, da 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 da, volcanoes, blah. Right, so there's been some changes. So it's not just been, but let's say 66 million years ago after the dinosaurs died, and the mammals slowly took over, and then humans emerged, or humanoids emerged 1 or 2 million years ago, and Homo sapiens came out 150,000 years ago. Fine. So for 150,000 years, here we are. And so anytime I say the sentence is true, but anytime you hear the sentence, it's not true because of time. But like currently, as I say this, we are at the edge of history. Like, there has been no further time. But there's been all kinds of time, insane amount of time. Or if you're a Bible literalist, 6,000 years or whatever it is since the creation of Adam, which is in some ways what the Bible says. Then it's also true of like academics. Academics can say, well, we have a written record of humanity up to ancient Sumer, which just happens to be exactly the same amount of time as the Bible people, but they're wrong. Okay, whatever. So we can agree there's like 6,000 years of human history. And so we hypothetically are sitting at the edge of all the dead people that have like lived and built and like given and lived and like this is the ultimate, to the point where I think like people are longing for an apocalypse to destroy the world because it sort of is stuck in a, so there's like this subconscious desire to burn the place to the ground. Or is it like as you age and get closer to death, do you secretly wish the world would burn because you are jealous that you're no longer going to be there and you don't want to see the next generation take? You don't want to imagine a world without you. I don't know. Like it seems like there's a lot of that in the baby boomers where they're just, they're not, they're breaking all the rules. But I say all that because, like, let's just imagine this is all the people have worked to create the best world they can. And let's just like look at the what. So we are the most technologically advanced. Like it's interesting. If you were, say, born in 700 AD in France or Italy or something, you could look around you and go, there used to be a great empire that was better than us. And so you could see that in the past, they were great. But now We live in a place where we don't do that, right? So we don't look to the past to think that they were great. Or if you were like in the end of the 1700s, your life wasn't much different than like the previous couple of generations, but it was beginning to be different. So you could look to the future and think the future is going to be awesome. And then the next couple of generations, things just like exploded. So that there was like this like this excitement for what's next. So you've had like a past that looked to the past with awe and admiration, and you have like a secret desire to redo a former glory, and you've had past that looked to the future where they envisioned greatness, and then you have the present. So the present is so wild, but we don't think about history because we are completely divorced from reality. Like, at least in America, we don't think about reality almost. In fact, to look at or speak of, talk about true, honest, naked reality is among the biggest social faux pas of our age. You don't want to be a downer, and you don't want to be. There's like there's there's cultural landmines everywhere, and there's distractions. There's more distractions than there are. Like, yeah, we're at like a peak distraction. So when you have like current distractions, do what's like the mantra since the 60s or 70s? It's kind of like live in the moment. So, like, our new thing is not to think of the past or think of the future. You want to be here now. You don't want to. In fact, there's endless videos of rich, important gurus that will tell you how to be, how to be. In fact, it's almost nauseating the number of people that will tell you how you should be living. You shouldn't eat this. You shouldn't do that. You should be doing this. I do this. Here's how you should think. Here's how you should work out. Here's how you should go to sleep. Here's how you should blah, blah, blah. Don't eat till noon. Never eat at all. You should eat 47 meals a day. You should only eat once a day. You should, like, eggs are bad. Eggs are great. I eat 30 eggs a day. I only eat free range. I don't. Orange juice is bad. Get more vitamin C. Vitamin C will kill you. Blah, 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 blah. There's just like a sea of opinions. None of them, like, they all contradict. Well, science shows and science proves and studies have been. Live in the now. Be present. Be in the moment. Always think. Don't ruminate about the past. I never look back. Don't look forward. Be here. So here we are, right? We're not in the future. Any movies about the future? Like in the 50s, you could go watch movies about the future, and they were excited. You watch anything since I've been born, and the future is a hell, is like a dystopian nightmare, a hellscape. It's almost to be afraid, like you're almost subconsciously afraid of the future and how bad it's going to be. So anytime anything bad happens, you're just like, I knew it. dystopia. It's the government. The government. Like, there's an all-powerful government, secret elites. There's a dirty deep state conspiracy. There's billionaires and bankers and Jews and everybody's running the world and taking us. There's like a move, a direction. Climate's gonna kill you. We're all gonna drown. We're all gonna fry. Everybody's gonna die. We're all gonna die. Jesus is coming back. You're gonna have your consciousness uploaded. You're gonna be a slave. A slave. The robots are taking over. Like there's no beauty. There's no dream. We have no universal dream. Christianity at least used to tell you, and then the new heaven and the new earth and the kingdom of heaven, and things were coming and Jesus was returning, and there used to at least be like future. But we killed that. So there's no religious future. And then there was like a scientific future in the 20s and 30s. We killed that. Now all the scientists are telling us that we need to turn off our air conditioners and drive electric vehicles and get rid of our carbon footprint, and we're all going to die. But here, so we're so advanced that we have to regress. So let's think about, we're so advanced. Like we're almost not even the same humans, right? Those old people were nothing. In fact, you look at an old photograph or see an old gross old people, right? We've hidden the old people away. You really only interact with like your two old people, if that. You don't see old. There's no generational wisdom. Maybe there's no wisdom at all. Where is the wisdom? But we do have phones. So that's like another thing is in the now that we must be in. What is this world we live in? What is the great, where has all of these lives taken us? What is history? Progressives, right? It's in the name. They're progressives. You like to go to Trader Joe's and drive a Subaru? You're progressive. Well, that means that you're progressing. And the concept of progression would be like towards something. In the past, right? You wanted progress, and you would be progressive towards the new technocrat world, or whatever it was that you were progressing to, this industrial age. We're progressing towards the future. Now that we've progressed, we still have progressives, only the progressives are now like, should be called the regressives. But ironically, isn't that what everybody hates about conservatives? Is conservatives want to conserve. They want to maintain. They don't want to progress. So now if you have a regressive progressive and a conservative, you then literally have an entire political world stunting movement or retarding or like to be sustained. Like what are we? We're sustaining. What are we trying to sustain? What are we trying to maintain? Where have we reached that needs to be? Why do we need to park here and hit the pause button? What is this world we have? What if we look around? What is there? Let's speak spiritually or religiously. All right, let's start. We're talking about the Bible somehow, eventually, maybe. So, culturally, I'd say like in Europe, it's more than 50%. In a place like the United States, it's probably like 50-50. In other countries, it might be higher, it might be lower. But let's say as a world, let's just average it out, because then you can like take Europe and add it to like the Middle East and divide it by whatever, and you would get like a nice medium. So let's say half the world hates religion or is unreligious. Maybe they don't hate it. Maybe they just become irreligious. Maybe they're professed atheists, or maybe they're just agnostic, or they're just sort of like disinterested in spirituality. Morality in general, as a cultural, we have reached a place of like our big fights are about how inclusive and how accepting we're going to be. It's not that we like any attempt at any psychologists would call it like boundaries. Any moral boundaries must be trampled and removed, right? So there's literally the minimum amount of morality allowable in our current world. Like, what's the worst thing in the world? Murder, rape, theft. Like super big ones. And theft has become like in California, it's acceptable to steal under this amount. Above that, it's bad. Under that, it's not. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's acceptable amount of stealing. Like sexuality, right? In the early '90s, when Roseanne's whatever on that show, when the lady came out as a lesbian, the world lost its fucking mind. Now, if you don't have a lesbian, the world loses its mind. And that's like in 30 years, in like half a lifetime or something. You know, Run DMC, they were getting arrested and thrown into jail for I'm fucking. And now it's like, who cares? Fuckity fuck. You know, if you did that in the '70s, I think Lenny Bruce went to jail for just basic profanity. Now Joe Rogan is the most important. He's the most important voice of our generation, and or whatever. We're talking culture here, and he doesn't give a fuck and smokes weed. So like spirituality and morality, like half the people don't even want to play the game. The other half that do play don't really want to play the game. They just like the music. Or there's probably what, like 25% of the people that just like, I mean, how many rabid religious fanatics are there? This is a sliver. There's some, right? You could go to many Arab countries and do many questionably moral things. Fine. Hispanics are very religious, but last time I was in Mexico and was flipping through channels, there was full nudity, alcohol on the wall, and I don't know the number of mayors with no heads. Like it's like, define. Like it's all like, I believe Argentina. I believe the state pays for boob jobs. But if we got on a time machine and went back, probably not even that far to the 80s, if you had any plastic surgery, you were sort of like on the edge of culture. Now you're like an average 40-year-old woman has a brand new set of tits. So that's spiritually and more. So all of the people have lived and died to make sure that we can do whatever we want, I think is the point. Provided what we want is not to actually have a boundary, because to actually have a boundary, so you can do anything you want except choose clear barriers. So, like, the only rule is you can't have rules. As long as you're like wild and carefree, you will get sponsorships and you will get this. And Tim Dillon can get on his show and just be like, say the most ridiculous things in his ads, and he gets more ads. But if you were like, I think Israel's going too far, like you'll just lose ads because that's a boundary. You know, Putin has a point. Like, I'm not saying any of these things are true. Or like, it's against my religion to make you a cake. Don't fucking do that. Unless it's approved by the system. So, no rules. In fact, it reminds me when I speak to certain younger generations, I will tell them like, do you know who the most influential human being in the 20th century was? I'm like, Hitler, Elvis Presley, the Beatles. Like, I will just start naming things from FDR, Martin Luther King Jr. I'll say, no, I think the most influential human being that probably lived in the 20th century is Aleister Crowley. Speaking of esotericism. And he said in the future, in the new age of Horus, that he was personally about to usher in the only do as thy will would be the only law. Do as thou will. And we live, and he was successful. The world we live in is do whatever you want. So, spiritually, do whatever you want. If you want to be religious, great. Just don't be too religious, but be religious. You want to have your nipples pierced? Great. Get them both done. Show them off. Get it. Tattoos? No. In fact, you're an anomaly without tattoos. Do I have a problem? No. We're just creating the line. Like if you, and it doesn't matter. Be religious, not too religious. Have lines, but don't really have lines. Be immoral. In fact, there's no, like, ironically, you can have too many rules, but you can't be too wild. The only time that gets questionable is if you like trafficking children, and even then you're probably not going to go to jail, let's be honest. You probably should go to jail, but you probably won't. I mean, you'll go to jail. Unless you were hired to do it. Okay. Technologically, where are we at technologically? We are at the edge of the universe, right? We're as far as you can go in human history. And we're not looking back. We're not looking forward. We are so far forward, we're saying halt, right? So where are we? What is the height of our where I live had a series of storms in the last month or two, and the power went out. You know, sometimes power goes out and it's out for a day or 3 hours, and you're like, oh, duh. And this one was a little more severe, so there was lots of outages. So it took like a few days. Just grumpy. Right? I need electricity. I need my fan at night making that noise. Oh, I had to sit in my car and charge my phone. My phone. What's on my phone? Everything is on my phone. Everything's on my phone. Everything is on my phone. Everything. Didn't have a phone, right? At some point in my life, there was no phone. But god damn it, I better have that fucking phone. What can you do on your phone? What can't you do on your phone? I can FaceTime Europe, look up a recipe, watch a video, talk to AI. AI. I can literally, like, hey, if you have kids, you probably know this, but your kid probably hasn't done his homework in a year or two. Not really. Half the ads you're seeing, like, there's robots that literally write everything. So you can see anywhere. I can get right now, like, if I go to the lake, I want to know if it's going to rain. Look it up on my, I can tell you what the weather is. I can tell you what the weather, I can look at a radar map of anywhere in the world. I can give you, what was the Byzantine, what was the Byzantine Empire? I'm bored. Oh, look, Aunt Julie has a new condo. So we have like all of the history of all of mankind. You know, tiny boats and big seas and tigers and barbarian hordes and savage natives and blowing up and mining accidents, like all of the going out to sea for 3 years to drag home 3 whales, like throwing an entire pig onto a factory machine to make sure that it keeps producing tin cans. Tin. Entire wars over the exporting of tin. Camel trains for thousands of miles. A wall that goes on so far you could see it in space. Space. A space race. We're in space. Satellites. There's too many satellites. There's so many satellites. They have junk, and that junk is wrecking into other satellites. And there's so many. I can have the internet now. Thank you, Elon Musk. In the country, in any country. Iran can get Starlink. He can catch a rocket coming back. Been to the moon. We know all the things, right? We know where everything is. We know we know all the information. We've deciphered all the stuff. We've pieced it all together. So we've been everywhere. We know everything. We've figured out the past. We're afraid of the future. We're just going to be here now. So the world we live in is, it's literally, we've hit the yellow light of history. And we're rapidly approaching as it switches to a red light. And we've been in a green light phase now for quite a while. We haven't hit a yellow light or a red light since like Rome fell. And we haven't, and even then, the other Rome didn't fall. Right? So they kept going. So there wasn't a complete collapse. And then, but there was like a fairly big collapse in at the end of the Bronze Age. That was a pretty substantial collapse. So there was a red light then, and then a slow progressive build back up. But so technology, we can know all the things. Science has all the answers. Religion has none of the answers. Morality is unimportant. Immorality is quite important. We're willing to die to protect our immorality. Spirituality is really relegated just for like taking DMT and talking to elves and sort of delving into the quantum world. Quantum is the new spirituality. But we have quantum computers coming, and an AI and quantum computers will solve the rest of it. And so we won't even need to think about spirituality. In fact, soon, if we do this right, we'll stop here. We'll gain immorality or immortality with our immorality, and we'll live forever in hedonism, excess, and like self-imposed ignorance. Because quite frankly, the more we know as a collective, the less I need to know as an individual, right? So the responsibility is no longer on me because we have this. In fact, spiritually immoral, like I don't need individual responsibility. The only real law is like do whatever you want and don't tell anybody else not to do whatever they want. But in order for that to be true, we need to give more to a government. So we know everything, and then we as a government will just make non-spiritual morality. So the morality will now lie in the world of like government edicts. So we're going to impose morality on building codes. We're going to impose morality on ethical makeups of offices, and we're going to impose like what's the word? Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is the new morality. So the only true morality needs to be democratic morality, right? We need to make sure every country needs to be democratically elected. And that's the other thing we've reached, right? We've reached the end of political discussion. We don't actually should ever have another, there never needs to be another political discussion in all of history. We've figured it out. Democracy. Unless you're Republican, then a democratic republic. Unless you're North Korea, and then it's communism, socialism, some form of people rule, right? But we should never vote, but we should always vote, right? So, governmentally speaking, there is only democracy, there is only immorality, there is self-imposed ignorance, because we have collective omnipotence, we now have collective morality. But so the real decision becomes like, this candidate is going to give me more things, or he's going to take away from those, he's going to hurt those people. He's a bad representative because he's going to cost illegals or old people or this demographic, or he's going to give too much. So, like, the number one thing, technologically speaking, no, it's to live in the now. So, right, we're in the now. So, in the now, the number one thing that you can be is free and rich. So, the new morality is do what you want, but then part of doing what you want is to make sure that you get to do the most what you want. Is you need to have the cheddar. In fact, you should want more than you currently have. However much you have, you should double it, and then triple that, and then 10x it, and then double that, and then realize you haven't even started. And that's how much you should want. And however much you have, you should have way more. And in fact, when you go to school, the number one job of education in America, trust me, is to make sure that you are prepared for the workforce. We want to create good, employable skills. Why? Because we need to make sure you do well. And when you meet a cute guy or a cute girl, but especially a cute guy, the first question should be, how much money do you make? And when you meet a brand new adult as another adult, the first question, the second question, hi, what's your name? Bill? Great. What do you do, Bill? What do you do is code word for how much money do you make? And then when you, Bill, and Phil, and Jill meet around your job that you worked your whole life for, that paid your good paying job, that you're working on that promotion for, and then on the side, you've got a side hustle, and then you've got a business that you're going to start, right? So you're going to spend your time in two ways: doing whatever the fuck you want, and you need to make sure that or making the most money to then do whatever the fuck you want. And then when you get around other adults, what you will do is you will talk about what expensive vacation you just went on, what new thing you just purchased, how much time and money you spend on your children's activity every weekend. Oh man, we had to go to Kansas City for the weekend and play for a soccer tournament. Oh God, you know what that cost us a month? And then we stayed at the Hilton, and we got a da-da-da, and we have the new Escalade, and do-do-do-do-do. So your conversations should always be focused on what it is you have, what it is you want, where it is you're going to go, because you're doing whatever you want. And what you want is to do anything you want. And what you need is money. Now, lucky for you, not only will you live in the freest country in the world that embraces true capitalism, right? There's no greater thing than to be rich. There's no greater sin than to be poor. But because we love poor people, because loving poor people is now the new morality, because remember, the morality is no longer attached to your morality. Morality is now attached to our morality. So our morality says poor people are awesome and we want to make sure they're not poor. So then poor people actually are middle class people. And middle class people are actually poor people. And then the rich people are godlike. In fact, the richer you are, the smarter and better you are. In fact, there's nothing. It's about making money. And I need to listen to people who have money because I need more money. There's nothing greater than money. Money is freedom, and freedom is the only rule. And I need more freedom. In fact, my freedom is directly tied to my bank account. Now, to tie this all back in, morality is collective. Being poor is the greatest sin, but we have washed the sins of the true poor and we atone for their sins and make sure they're not actually living poor. So poor people get something, right? They'll get health care and food and shelter. So we don't want them to be uncomfortable. So they're just, it's sad they can't have all the stuff they want, but we're going to give them all the stuff they need and it's going to be fine. Thank God I can help. Right? It is what it is. But then when people say things like, well, why don't you just get a job? It's like, gross. Do you even know what they've been through? Do you know? Ugh. 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 Why would they have a job? Do you know how little these corporations are paying these employees at these places that I'm always taking photos of myself at? Do you know how little they make there? I wouldn't work there either. Do you know what they have to put up with at these corporations? Corporations are evil. But at the exact fucking same time, that CEO is a genius. I can't wait to create my own corporation. I'm a founder. I'm a founder. I'm a I'm an entrepreneur. I'm starting my own evil corporation. Because when I'm an evil corporation, I'll give half of my stock money to poor people in Africa. So the worst thing you could be is poor in this, but then it's African. But it's fine because we're helping them and we're giving them democracy. So the greatest thing you can be is rich. And the worst thing you can be is rich. But mostly the greatest thing you can be is rich. In fact, I'm going to be rich. I've got an idea and I'm going to be rich. I've been watching some videos. I've got guys and they're telling me about things. And so I just paid for this course, this online course. And I'm beginning to invest in real estate. I also have a side hustle. Um, what I'm working on is my equity, and then my FICO score, and da 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 da. So money. So the new morality is communal. The next best thing to morality is my ability to engage in freedom, and that ability is directly related to my financial well-being. And so in the old days, spiritual well-being would be like you would sort of gain prominence within your local community by your piety, right? You would want to be seen being very pious and very holy, and everybody would know how close to Jesus you were, because that was the number one thing you could be, spiritual. Since that's out, the new thing you can be is rich. And everybody, you want to be seen being rich, and you want to seen being more rich, because that's gaining your social status. So your social status is 100% tied to your economic status. But the greatest thing you can be is rich, and the worst thing you can be is a corporation. So that's the greatest thing you can be is a corporation. You following me? The second most important, so you want to be free, uninhibited, rich, and ripped. So now it's no longer important to be like the sacrifice and to be humble and to be frugal and to build treasures in heaven and to give to the poor, unless you get the tax write-off, and then you'll give plenty to the poor, but only with the tax write-off. You're not giving to the fuck the poor. We give to the poor societally. I don't give to the poor. We give to the poor. I'm not giving anybody anything. I tip. So now that you no longer have to sacrifice personally for the community, I need to sacrifice personally for me, because if I'm going to do whatever I want and I need to be rich to do that, well, what I want to do is fuck everybody. And I want people to want to fuck me. But nobody's going to want to fuck a fat, ugly old person. So I have to be youthful and in shape, hot, sexy. And right now, nothing's sexier than a tattoo. That's not out. And abs. I need abs. I have this thing, but I got the Ozempic is helping me with the thing. I've got the things coming. I've got Botox. I would never go to Supercuts. I go to my trainer. I do Pilates. I'm on a strict whatever diet. So I do sacrifice. I sacrifice for me. For me. Because then I'm hot and I can fuck. But I have to be hot. So, free people go places and fuck. I want to eat whatever I want, and I don't really want to not eat whatever I want. But I don't drink anymore. But I do smoke weed. So, in fact, I don't drink, but I smoke a lot of weed. And go to the doctor a lot and I get all the shots. Because I need to be rich, I need to be hot, and I need to never, ever be old or die. Because when you're living this life, it needs to last forever. No, there is no future. There is no past. There's only now. I live here. I'm hot, I fuck, and I'm going to live forever. And if you disagree with that, I'm not even, I'm just, you don't, like, I, I don't have time for that. Okay? Right now, science is on track that by 20, whatever, singularity hits, I will take this and I will put it in a hot, sexy new bod. I'll fuck forever. Okay? There's no dying. There's just forever. Forever. There's now forever. There's no that. Stop. Now. Do what I want with all my money because I'm so hot and I'd go everywhere. Oh my God. They just opened a new chain thing. They got a new chain thing in the next city. I was just in this city and they have a chain thing. I love chain thing. Love it. Ugh, those corporations are evil. I love the chains. Oh, I hate this town. You have to stay in these rinky dink little places. I love Spark by Hilton. I love it. I need to get an Uber. Let's get an Uber. We'll go to the game. We'll go to P.F. Chang's. We'll come back to the Hilton. We can go to the show. We're going to Vegas. We're going to fly home in United. I only do United. I don't do Southwest. Oh. Did you hear the podcast? No. Do you have Apple TV? Oh, yeah. No, do you get the Google TV? Oh, man, I can't stand Netflix. They're just, their shows. They're just not even good. Not even good. Not even good. So maybe I oftentimes think I'm the last. I'm alone. I'm alone in the sense that money's fine, but it doesn't motivate me in any way. If it did, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be doing this better. I'd be hitting the algorithms, and I would only say the things that I should say. But instead, I genuinely want to know about the Bible. And I genuinely want to have an open conversation about what that is. And what that is, in my, like, what it is what I've been saying in the other videos you haven't watched, but the breakdown is like, I'm running on about what our world is. What our world is the opposite of what the Christian world should be. Now, the Christian world today is all the things I just explained, right? They're always bigger, bolder, and they're charging money, and they're all about giving, and it's just they're as much about money as anybody. And they want to make sure they have all the people coming in, so they don't want to like push them away with too much thing, because that's a little, oof. The less we can like not impede on their freedom, and the more we could help them with their wealth, the more they'll help us with our wealth, and then the more they'll help us with our freedom. And so, like, at this stopping point in history that we've reached, and that somebody with tons of power is slamming the brakes, you said, so that we stay here forever. Here is the antithesis of that. And so, what I would say, what I'm going to eventually say, but probably not today, is I did on the previous video talk about Jesus. And I was beginning to introduce the idea that Jesus was both a physical country, because that's what men are, and he was spiritual concept. So he was spiritual and physical, which is, like I said, beginning of this video, you have to keep your quantum. You can't lose one for the other, right? So you have to keep the tenets of this thing. And then for me to tell you who Jesus was, because like you can't find a historical Jesus. I can. He's called the Holy Roman Empire, and it sounds insane. So then it would be like, the Bible is actually history. It becomes relevant because it's telling you how civilization and society unfolds. So if right now we're stuck in this place where morality is communal, well, in some sense, that's true. So if we had to judge us honestly, which nobody's doing when you hear the way I was just talking, or if you watch endless amounts of things, all they're talking about is here's how to make money, here's what I bought, here's an ad for things to buy, here's where I went, here's how to make money, here's the people with money. These guys are awesome. They have so many likes, they make so much money. Here's a thing, look how much money. Money, 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 money. Me, 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 me. If we had to judge our world, selfishness, greed, laziness, immorality, lust, like all the 7 deadly sins. Hell is full. And who runs hell? Satan. So Jesus is a spiritual idea, well, then Satan is a spiritual idea. And if to follow Jesus means to embrace higher things, then to follow Satan means to embrace lower things, earthly things. So we live in an earthly world, but it's fun and free, and it is. There's no heaven and there's no hell, except if you understand, they're saying that is hell. And so what do you really have? If you just have a bunch of desperate people who are trying to not be them. But while they're being them, they're trying desperately to be other people. And they're all depressed and angry and upset. But they're distracted. And as long as you're distracted, you're not upset or depressed or unfulfilled or like you're none of those things. You're always about to be free and rich. Or you are free and rich. Right? And you're not encumbered by reality. Because reality is gross. There's no future and there's no past. There's only now. And there's not a real now, it's a fake now. And we have created all this technology to make sure that we stay here in 2000, whatever year this is. Whatever magic year this is 2015 forever. Whatever year this is. It's awesome. Oh my God, Elton John is 900 years old. I don't need to see that. Woohoo! Do you know that they can put Christopher Walken in a movie and he never dies? Hey, like, our world is, so if Jesus is love, sacrifice, kindness, and humility, you're the opposite. Now here's the part where religion is annoying, and I'm not going to say it's not annoying. As it's practiced, it's the worst, most god awful thing that I want no part of. But the world you live in, this world of technology, didn't just happen. It happened because a bunch of selfless, good intended people work together to pass on to the future, right? They sacrificed their existence for the next generation. But now we are finally sacrificing the next generation for our existence. And so the 1,000 years of selflessness created this uber world of selflessness. But here's the thing, when nobody does the things anymore, we're just trying to hold history down, and we just worship all the worst things, our purpose as an entire group of people, regardless of how many people you vote for to give all the people more things, has to just, it can't survive. It's unsurvivable. We're all fucked. There's no way to save this. Sure destruction. And what will come next is a group of downtrodden, hardy, resilient, truly good hearted, selfless people will build an amazing new future on the ashes of our nightmare. And they'll pick and choose a few of the things, and they will create a new world of true human potential. Because we peaked at potential, and now all we create breaks. We're building breaks to anticipate. We're trying to collectively achieve the impossible. Like, if religion is silly because you believe in untrue things, well, this whole system is silly because it believes, number one, there's no such thing as money, there's no such thing as countries, there's no such thing as a good politician, there's no such thing as honesty or integrity or wisdom in a world like this, right? There's no, you can't build a world on lies. You can't build a world on deception. The Ponzi scheme, the whole thing's a Ponzi scheme. But when it's built on truth, when, like, if every person, like, a nation is every person added up. And so the stronger each person is, the stronger the nation becomes. The weaker each person is, the weaker the nation comes. But in our case, we've created a world full of weakness. It's inevitable. And what the Bible is, it's the most amazing. So at one point, humans weren't obsessed with money. Humans were obsessed with wisdom. We can't be bothered with wisdom. Is not profitable. They weren't worried about profitable. Worried about, like, you can go to the Parthenon, you can go to the Pantheon, you can go to you can go to the pyramids, you can go to millions of, not millions, tons of old places because they were built to last forever. If you go to a place built in the 90s, it seems ancient and it needs to be torn down, at least renovated. It's kind of gross. Oh my God, did you see the tile in the bathroom? I went into a house the other day and they had the chickens in the kitchen in the green. They had the hunter green. Oh my God, the carpet. It was like that thick white carpet. So dated. There's not. They imagined the, the span of existence. So the Bible is essentially like the height, if like a cell phone with AI is like where we've reached technologically, while giving up the morality and the spiritually. Well, imagine you weren't interested in the money and the technology, but you were interested in the wisdom. Greatest gift they ever gave us. The past gave us a gift, the form of the Bible. And it's not because you're going to hell or you're doing the wrong thing. It's a book that tells you how to run a civilization. And it tells you the stages of human civilization. And it tells you the beginning, the middle, the end, and how the civilization unfolds and then ultimately dies, and what the process looks like so that you can maybe get ahead of it for once. But we forgot, we don't know. And that's what I've discovered is like, oh wow. And it shows you what the end of a civilization looks like. Who's in charge? How the brain, like if collectively what the collective becomes and how it acts, how hell is created and heaven is created and what earth is and what heaven, like they mean things, and they don't mean the silly things. They mean like profound, important, unbearably necessary things. Like think of all of the rulers in the whole world. Are any of them doing a good job? Are you the people doing a good job? Are we doing, whether we like it or not, we could set off every bomb in the whole world and a bunch of people won't die. This world isn't going to go anywhere. There's going to be the next. Are we only going to think about now? Do we understand how we fit in the totality of the story? Are we willing to sacrifice all of the lives of the men and women before us for our own meager, shitty lives? Are we not going to give and appreciate and like, are we building a world for the ages or are we building nothing? We're building air, we're building farts, we're building nothing. So when I speak of these things, like that's the end goal. It like literally greatest minds of the past sat around and they collected all of the myths and legends, and they knew what they meant. There's a deeper meaning in all of them, and they put them all together and they created a super myth. But it's not a myth. They created this super. They want, like, hey, here, if anybody, like, it's the greatest transfer of information of all times, and it's been lost because we didn't give a shit, because we got worried about silly, like, imagine all of the important answers are right there, and we're actually hitting almost none of the important metrics that you would need to be doing in order to be a healthy civilization. We are an unhealthy, dead, dying, decaying, rotting corpse that is being eaten alive, or dead, being eaten by vultures. There's no life left in our body. We are a dead thing. But 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 humans took the time to pass on the wisdom of the ages. It's right there, and I stumbled on it. It's amazing, but I'm one guy, one unrich, unimportant guy. I have this much power. I have this much power. But if everybody would, like, if you were just half as greedy as you currently are and just tried like 5% more humanity, more love, more selflessness, more giving, just a tiny nudge in that direction with the tools that we have assembled, but you didn't assemble. We, over all of the thousands of years, have done this. The least we could do is kind of like, sorry, clean it up and make sure that it gets passed down in better shape with all the correct information and the handbook that says, here you go, crush it. That should be way more important than going viral. Shouldn't we go viral as a society, as a culture, as an entire civilization? Like it or not, we are basically global. We can't hide our own little countries away anymore. Everybody's staring at North Korea, wondering why they're not coming out of their house. Like, they're still in the neighborhood. Could you imagine a future that wasn't an apocalyptic dystopian? Like, imagine heaven. Imagine the place, Christians, that you are going to get when you die. Imagine you'll never get it. Imagine your great, great, great grandchildren will live in the greatest world that has ever existed. And you were a part of it. And you will live forever in every amazing piece that you contributed to the next group. And imagine they did the same thing. In the next 1,000 years, they won't be stuck doing this. Are we going to be stuck doing this for 1,000 motherfucking years? We could make something that makes the pyramids look stupid. We could be the generation that all the generations go. They gotta figure out. And none of your digital stuff is gonna be there. So it's not happening right now. Don't dilute yourself. It's not happening right now. Nothing we've made is made out of stone. Nothing we made is permanent or even important. It's as empty, vapid, pointless as you are. You're afraid of being poor. You shouldn't be afraid. Being the first generation in human history didn't even think about anybody on either side of you. The idea that you've been sold a dystopian future, not an accident. And you bought it. You can make it that. You're doing a great job of creating dystopia. Keep doing what you're doing, and there will be absolutely nothing left to give anybody. Or try this. Everybody try this. We're already this far. Fuck Mars. This place should be so awesome. The Martians should be trying to get. Why is Earth? Like, we should walk out of our house every day and look at the world we've built and be like, I was part of this. My kids are part of this. I wish I could see 100 years from now when it's even cooler because this is already blowing my mind. I'm excited for the next million years. I dread getting in my car and going to the store because I have to see all of waste